Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March 8th, 2021 Village Board of Trustees meeting. Will everyone please join me in the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Andino.
Present.
Trustee Lang.
Present.
Trustee Howell.
Present.
Trustee Lee.
Present.
Mayor Luisi.
I am present. We have no appointments tonight, and nor do we have any presentations, nor do we have any public hearings. So we're going to move right on into village business, which is the approval of minutes of the February 8th, 2021 meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor.
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luisi.
In favor. And as at this time, this is the first opportunity for anyone in the room to address the board on any agenda items. Not being any, then we're going to move on to our resolutions, and that'll be resolution number 1, which is authorizing the adoption of the Tuckahoe Commission on Police Reform report as per Executive Order 203. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor.
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luisi.
In favor. And it's at this time I would ask the board if anyone would like to comment on the adoption of this report. Well, I would just like to thank our chairman, Steve Celestino, for your work and organizing our meetings, your outreach to other police departments and other committees that were also engaged in the same type of work that we were doing. I cannot say enough about Chief John Costanzo and the members of his department who contributed at our public meetings, as well as the meetings that involve just the core committee members. Invaluable information provided by the department. Our attorneys, let me rephrase that. Legal Aid Society, Robert Horn, and the district attorney, appreciate their input as well. Reverend Michael Gerald. Donna Brown, thank you so much for coming out and supporting us as well. It was a great collaborative effort. It involved the community. Thank you, Elmira, for organizing that survey, Trustee Andino for organizing that survey and getting that out there, and which also provided us with important information to formulate our final report. So it was a labor of love, to say the least. And again, I'd like to just thank the residents that participated in the public forums and provided us with their input, which helped us again to formulate this report, which I'm happy to say is ahead of schedule and will be on the governor's desk in time for the April 1st deadline. And if I left anybody out, I hope I did. Did I, Trustee Andino, did I leave anybody out?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, resolution number 2 is authorizing the dedication of Winter Hill Road in honor of Monsignor William B. O'Brien. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor.
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luise.
In favor. And if I may just provide a little bit background as to who Monsignor William B. O'Brien. He was born in Tuckahoe and was right across the street from Immaculate Conception Church. And Monsignor O'Brien, back in the late 50s, early 1960s, was one of the prime movers in creating Daytop Village, which, as most of us know, provided treatment and support for people that were dealing with substance abuse problems. So talk about being well ahead of the curve at such a time when that was, I'm sure, nowhere near on anyone's radar, that this individual had that foresight to begin such a valuable organization. And as a matter of fact, it spread around the world because of these programs. So well-deserving award to a local Tuckahoe resident. I thank Tom Hafner for all your information that you provided to the board. We also, just as an aside, we got letters in support of this resolution from the Vice President of Samaritan Daytop Village, Whitney Global Media, the William O'Shaughnessy, as well as from Town Supervisor Calavita. So thank you, everyone, for allowing this to happen. Any other board members like to comment? Okay, well, let's move on to resolution number 3, which is authorizing the Public Health and Emergency Operations Plan for the Village of Tuckahoe as required by the New York State Chapter 168 of the laws of 2020. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor.
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luise.
In favor. Resolution number 4 is authorizing the village administrator in consultation with the village board to take any necessary steps to relax zoning provisions to assist local merchants, restaurants, gyms, to aid in their expedited recovery due to their pandemic with respect to outdoor seating and other temporary rules through October 31st, 2021. Do I have a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor.
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luise.
In favor. Resolution number 5 is authorizing the use of the Main Street Park Tennis Court from March 29th through April 1st from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. to ECAP to run a tennis clinic. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor.
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luise.
In favor.
Mayor, we have the director of the ECAP here. Can we just let her speak briefly about this because she has to go.
Sure, absolutely.
Denise Chin, she's the area coordinator for ECAP. Denise, can you just let the residents know how this came about? You're on mute, Denise.
Apologies. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me
evening.
here, council people. I just want to say thank you. I've been coming down Main Street for quite some time now since the pandemic started. And every time I pass Main Street, I look over to my right coming down and I see this tennis court and all the facility. But every time I look at the tennis court, I've never seen anyone playing at the tennis court. And I'm like, I have to get our students over to the tennis court. We've been struggling with what do we do during the pandemic to keep our students engaged that are at the after school. And I said, we're going to do something in the spring. I reached out to Amira. She said, let me see what I can do. And she was able to get the time in. I reached out to some other community partners. We're going to have a coach from Concordia College to actually do the clinic with the kids. So we're going to have at least 10 elementary school kids to introduce them to the game of tennis. And we really appreciate you allowing us to use the court.
It's great. It's great to see someone taking advantage of that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we look forward to using it much more productively and in more ways than one. But this is a start. This is a start.
Yep, great. Best
Thank
of luck
you.
with the program, and I hope
Thank
it
you so
continues.
much.
I hope to see it continue.
Definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Denise.
Bye-bye now.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Have a good night.
Good night. Resolution number 6 is authorizing a tax certiorari settlement with Tabcorp Realty Corp. For assessment years 2016 through 2020 with a street address of 25 Columbus Avenue, Section 33, Block 2, Lot 20, in the amount of $17,434.35. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor.
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luise.
In favor. Resolution number 7 is authorizing a declaration of a sewer repair on an emergency basis exempt from bidding procedures by Zanzini Pipeline Services Incorporated in the amount, excuse me, of $43,306 for said repairs. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor.
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luise.
In favor. Resolution number 8 is authorizing setting a public hearing for April 12th, 2021 to consider the tentative budget for fiscal year June 1, 2021 through May 31, 2022. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor.
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luise.
In favor. And that'll bring us to our last resolution, which is authorizing the approval of vouchers in the amount of $436,139.40. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor.
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luise.
In favor. And at this point, we're going to have a discussion item on the agenda, which is the acquisition of Concordia by Iona College and related impacts to potential historic sites. If I may just give a little background, I'm sure we'll have other board members. David's going to chime in. So we know that Iona, according to the information that we received, will be assuming ownership of the Concordia campus midsummer. And of course, there is a lot related to that property. One of the main properties that's of concern right now is the Ward House. So Dick Foliano has approached David and I and the village board actually about enacting some type of legislation to protect that historic landmark that's located here in the village. There's a lot of moving parts that are involved. Our village attorney is involved right now in doing research on what exactly we are going to go about this process. And also, I know there's been concern from residents in the Gifford Park area about the future of the soccer field. One thing I can say is that if Iona does want to go back to the drawing board, like on Concordia had received approvals for, to improve the soccer field, concession stands, irrigation, so on and so forth, that would have to, again, they would have to start from square one and go back to the planning board for all their approvals. But as of right now, I mean, so they're both neck and neck in terms of priority. But the Ward House is of concern, obviously, to the historians here in Eastchester and Tuckahoe, because of its historic value. So that's basically it in a nutshell. I'll open it up to the board if they want to offer any comments, Gary or Dave.
Yeah, Mayor, I think, I'll chime in real quick just to let everyone know. I think the purpose of kind of putting this on there is we have been hearing from a significant amount of people in regards to they're worried about the takeover of Concordia College. They're worried about the Ward House. And, on a separate note, they're worried about some other historical sites in Tuckahoe. Mm-hmm. So we kind of have two tracks here. One is the acquisition by Concordia, by Iona, and we want to learn more about that. We want to learn more about what Iona is looking to do in the property, looking to do with the soccer fields, looking to do with just the school in general. And then we know that a lot of their properties, it doesn't seem like they're going to be taking over, such as the Ward House and a couple of other the residential buildings. So that's what we're trying to get more information on. And, having conversations with Mr. Foliano this afternoon as well, is that a lot of this is still to be determined. They don't know what they're going to do with some of these things yet. So we're trying to find information just like everyone else. And then the second track is just the historical preservation of not just the Ward House, but several other sites in Tuckahoe, and trying to come together and trying to figure out what exactly Tuckahoe wants to do with these sites, right? So there are some communities that have legislation where you can't touch these sites and you can't paint these sites and you can't do anything. And there's other communities that just recognize these sites and want to make sure that they're not torn down and, things like that. So there's kind of different levels of legislation that can be put together. So that's something that we are gathering information on right now. I have some calls out to Westchester County historian to figure out how best to do that. One of the things is kind of getting a task force together of certain members of the board and just the community to figure out where we're going to go with this. So this is kind of just to throw it on people's radars that this is something that the board is kind of looking for us to do. And, this is how we're going to move forward.
Anyone else? Okay.
Chair,
Well,
I would like to say something.
sure.
The Ward House is the oldest house in town, built in 1797, after having been burned down by the British during the Revolution. I think we can all agree that the Ward House is a historical gem in this village. And I think we can all agree that we need to work with all the stakeholders to help preserve it. I'm sure many residents would agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why there's such concern, because of the deep history that's involved. But, of course, the concern is, a conglomerate, a big corporation all they see is dollar signs, and the history of the 1700s is surely lost on those people that sit in those big boardrooms. So that's thus the sense of urgency to see what we can do to protect that property.
I agree.
Anyone else? Okay. So this will bring us to our departmental reports, and I'd like to begin with our Chief of Police, Chief John Costanzo.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board, village residents. If I could just circle back for a moment to the Reform Commission.
Sure.
I just did want to comment on the great makeup of this particular board, the hard work of the board under the chair of Steve Celestino, who was certainly very passionate about this and put his whole heart into it. Every member of the commission had contributions. The dialogue throughout the process was so productive, and every member was courteous and respectful of each other's opinions and thought process. And it really was a pleasure working with every single member of this commission. So I want to say thank you to every one of them for all their hard work. It was a process that started in late October and went on, three public meetings, but several meetings with just the commission working hard to develop this plan and, go through all the materials and suggestions. So, just thank you to everyone that participated on the board for all their hard work. On my end, I certainly would like to thank members of my staff, Lieutenant Andrew Zerolnik, Lieutenant Larry Rhoda, and the member of the commission, Detective Stephen Leone, who was the PBA president. All of those three members, as well as several other members of my staff, worked very hard in putting the presentations together and to try to get the information out to the public. So thank you to those members of the staff. I'd also like to have a very special thank you to our village administrator, David Burke. Like on so many other projects in his village, he works behind the scenes, but does a lot of the heavy lifting. So thank you to David as well. And then certainly to all the stakeholders, every resident that either had a suggestion, a recommendation, a thought, a complaint even, it was all a big part of this process. And even if you just answered the survey, those survey results were very helpful to the commission and to the police department in how we move forward. So thank you to them, to the other stakeholder groups, the Tuckahoe schools, the VFW groups, the coalitions, Stronger Together Coalition, the Chamber of Commerce, all ECAP, the different churches, Father Sorgi, Reverend Gerald, everyone had great input, great comments, and it was all helpful in the process. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that participated in it. I think the police department, it was a great opportunity for us to showcase what we do, to get some of the processes and procedures out there, how we do business in the village. Some of the recommendations are very helpful that the commission has put forward. I think the department is better for this whole process and will, heed all of the suggestions that were before us. So again, thank you to everyone. I'd just like to comment on some of the things that are going on in the police department. Last week, we partnered with the Eastchester Tuckahoe Chamber of Commerce to deliver meals to our senior population, our homebound seniors, and we delivered 104 meals over the course of Monday through Thursday. It was a great collaboration with the chamber and the restaurants as well. So really, congratulations for the chamber for putting it all together. We were just happy to be part of the process, and the officers were really happy to be in the meal delivery business again. So thank you to the chamber and all the restaurants involved. I'd like for the residents to be aware that as we get towards the end of March, and hopefully some nice warm weather, we will hopefully not be thinking of snow any longer and start to get into our warm weather routines, including the alternate side of street parking regulations. So please look over the next several weeks for the signs to go up that would have alternate side of street parking regulations so that the street cleaner can get out there and clean the streets. So that will happen over the next couple of weeks. And of course, the first week we will be issuing some warning summonses to anyone who's in violation. The department is heavily involved in a recruitment program. The Westchester County Department of Human Resources has announced that they will be giving a police officer exam on May 16th or 15th or 16th. We have until March 29th to get people to sign up for this exam. So we are trying to get the word out as best we can. We've put it on our social media accounts. We put it on our website. We have officers out there going from business to business, from if they see young people gathering, we're handing out flyers. We hope to partner with some of our people in the village to do some informational sessions. So we'll be very busy over the next few weeks until the 29th to get the word out that we want to get as many people to participate in the exam and take the test on May 15th and 16th. Unfortunately, the exam is only given once every 4 years. That's out of the village's control. That's up to the county. So this list will bound us to our hiring practices for the next 4 years. So obviously it's important to get the message out there and to get the largest pool of candidates, a diverse pool of candidates so that we could do the hiring over the next 4 years. So that's what we will be involved in. We have prepared our 2020 annual report. It has just been completed today. It will be out in social media and our website tomorrow. So I'd ask the residents to look for that report, and there's some very informative content in that annual report. And then just in closing, I didn't realize, Mr. Mayor, that this is your last meeting. So I just wanted to say thank you for your service to our village as mayor and as a trustee. Working with you over the years has been a pleasure. It's been very helpful as a department head to deal with somebody who has some law enforcement background and has really been a gentleman throughout the process. So thank you. Lots of luck to you.
Thank you, Chief.
Your service to this community is really worthy of special recognition.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And if I could just close out with one personal note, and I'm sure members of the board will be commenting further, but I didn't want the opportunity to go by without mentioning a person that we lost this past week, an icon in this village, Faye Blasi. Faye was so very active with the seniors, but just on a personal note, in 2003, when I was appointed chief of police, and I think the very first public function that I went to, I was invited to the senior luncheon, and I knew many of the people there, but I really didn't know Faye very well. I believe she was president at the time, and she just pulled me to the side and took me under her wing and made sure that I was comfortable and I was sitting, at the right table and that I was well taken care of. And from that moment on, we just hit it off and had a great friendship. It's hard to believe that somebody who was 100 years old had the energy that she possessed, and she was such an asset to this village and will be so greatly missed. So, my condolences to her family, and she'll never be forgotten by me or members of this community. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, can I ask Chief a quick question? Sure. So Chief, before you go, you mentioned that the test only comes around every 4 years. So how long would the result be good for? If a young man took the test and, scored, let's say, a 90, how long does that test result guarantee him a spot for, in other words? You know what I mean?
So it is 4 years. So whatever time the list is ratified and released, 4 years from that date. That's again, it's out of our hands. That's historically been the way that the Department of Human Resources has done it. Not to say that it cannot change, it can change, but it's under their purview. But historically, it's been for a full 4 years.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Our Superintendent of Public Works, Mr. Frank DeMarco.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah,
All right. I really don't have much to say tonight, except for I want to piggyback what John has said about Faye. She'll be well missed as well. You know, my condolences to her and her family. She was like 39 going on 100, so it was always a pleasure being with her. And Mayor, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for your services. It's been a pleasure working with you as well. And God bless you in all your future endeavors. So enjoy yourself. Thank you again.
Greatly appreciate it.
Does anybody have any questions for me?
Is it good as snow?
I wanted to piggyback what John said earlier. I think he says something to the fact that there's warmer weather approaching. So I really kind of like that. I'm sticking with that.
Okay. All right. My lips are sealed.
Okay.
I know John Galuzzi's not available tonight. Camille, do you have anything for us?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to wish you the best of luck. It's been a pleasure
you.
working.
Thank you. Thank you, Camille. And I'll always remember that first time I walked into Village Hall when I guess they had just announced I was running for trustee. And you said, "Oh, hi, Greg." And I said, "How do you know who I am?" He says, "Don't worry, I know who you are." So I'll never forget that, Camille. So thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gary Gersten.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So we're with court. We're starting to open up things virtually. Tomorrow is a parking day, and I know later on in the month we're going to start doing the vehicle and traffic stuff, the moving violations. So if anyone out there has an issue with parking violations, they need to schedule basically an appointment with the court clerk, and they'll set up a meeting with me. And then obviously anything I recommend would have to be approved by the judge. And then same thing with vehicle and traffic law. I know Connie is sending out notices for these virtual meetings. And so we'll have to deal with each of these tickets virtually. And again, anything that I would recommend would have to be signed off by the judge. And, you know, lastly, Mr. Mayor, it's been a pleasure, unbelievable pleasure working with you the last few years. You're an amazing mayor, amazing person. I've spoken to you about this. You know how I feel. And I just want to thank you and did a great job and enjoy your second retirement, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Likewise. It's your turn, Mr. David Burke.
I'm going to go, but I'm going to pass it off to Swati. She asked if she could say something now.
Sure. I'm sorry. I'm on my phone, so I don't get the panoramic view that the iPad community gets. So.
Oh, no problem. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Swati.
Mayor and the Board of Trustee and our Tuckahoe community. First of all, I want to say thank you so very, very much, Mayor Louise. It was such a pleasure working with you, and I'm so happy that you started coming to the library and started reading books, checking out books, and now you are doing Overdrive and other, media, and it's such a pleasure, I have to say. We are very fortunate to have you, and we wish you, on behalf of the staff and myself, all the best. Whatever next, you endeavor you will go to. And I just want to give you some updates about the library program. As all of you know, that the library is, we still going through window pickup hours. It is Monday 11 to 7, Tuesday and Friday 11 to 5. And starting on Saturday, March 13, the library will be open on Saturdays for window pickup from 10:30 to 1:30. And we also provide services like if somebody needs to print, and if they don't have access to the printer, they can email us and we will print it for them and they can collect it from the library. And as you know, we have a lot of program every month. This is a Women's History Month. So in honor of Women's History Month, we are doing Women of New York, presented by Marty Schneid. And it's going to be on Monday, March 22nd at 7 p.m. It talks about the history of 14 women who made significant contribution to New York and the world at large at a time in the United States history when full equality for women was not yet recognized. And we also have a book club, which is going to be on Wednesday, March 31st at 6:30 p.m. And we are reading this month, Miss Benson's Beetle. And the copies of the books are available at the library, and also ebooks and audiobooks are available on Libby. And for art class, we have Miss Jessica Cepoletti, Wednesday, March 10th at 5 p.m. And this program is sponsored by the Community Fund of Bronxville, Eastchester, Tuckahoe. And we also offer computer classes, computer classes on different subjects, and we try to send the newsletter so people can use our databases. And we have ongoing mind and body wellness program, which we offer every month. We have 2 Tai Chi classes, which is on Tuesday morning, March 9th and March 23rd at 9 a.m. And then we have virtual meditation during lunchtime at 12 p.m., which is breath, body, mind method. And we also have chair yoga with Ann Casapini, which is Thursday at 5:30 p.m. It's every Thursday, is also sponsored by the Community Fund. And the children's program we have on every Tuesday morning, ages 0 to 2, baby time. And then we have a special story time, Meet Roberta the Pet Rescue Rabbit, which is going to be on Friday, March 12 at 11 a.m. And we have a sing along, and the children for St. Patrick Day, we are having a children's craft program, which is going to be tomorrow, March 9th at 4 p.m. And we also offer online kids yoga, which is going to be Wednesday, March 10th at 11 a.m. for ages 2.5 to 5, and then for ages 6 to 10 at 4 p.m. And we also offer online art program with Mike Teeter, ages 7 to 10, Tuesday, March 16 at 4:30 p.m. It's also sponsored by the Community Fund. And we have a lot of other events, as you see on our website. So these are some of these events I just mentioned. And Friends of the Library, they also have, if anybody likes to have their name engraved in one of our bricks, they can buy a brick, participate in this program. Or we also have Friends of Library. They offer the museum passes. The list of museum passes are available online. And also, I just want to let you know, Tuckahoe Library, we also have a hotspot. So during the COVID, when we closed on March 16, we felt like a digital gap between our community. People, they didn't have access to internet. So then after a while, we noticed that some people, they were sitting in our reading garden and using the internet. And we were planning to apply for a grant for different stuff to upgrade the teens and children's room. Then we felt this is the best time we should think about it, and we apply for the grant for hotspot. So what people, they can borrow these hotspot from us. So people who don't have access to the internet at home, they can borrow it for 1 week. We also contacted the Tuckahoe School, and they also offer this hotspot, lending hotspot. And we talked to them, and if they need any student, because they have limited numbers, so we suggested if they need, they can contact us and we will offer. And having this hotspot, it's amazing how much people, like student one time, he didn't have internet access at home, and they call us and he sat outside. That time we didn't get our hotspot yet, and he sat outside in our reading garden. And then all day he took his classes, whatever the schedule was. And some of you already know the Tuckahoe Beautification and another organization or foundation. They are helping to create another reading garden towards the across from the parking lot. So what we decided, we will have more access points. So we are trying to upgrade our Wi-Fi at the library so people can sit in the other part of our garden and they can use the internet also. So because people, they need it. Sometimes they are sitting there applying for their unemployment benefit. As you know, there's nothing without internet, even if you want to make a reservation for COVID vaccine. So you have to go online. So it's very important. So we are trying to reach out to our community, you know, by like offering our services, whichever way we can help them. Thank you.
Thank you, Swadish.
You're welcome. And thanks again for all your service.
Most welcome. Thank you for your kind words.
You're welcome.
Mr. Burke?
Yes, thank you. I want to start off, I just want to kind of give Mr. DeMarco a shout out. He said he didn't have much to report on, but there is a myriad of projects going on. We spent a few hours in my office today just going over a spreadsheet that you'd be amazed, from sidewalks to charging stations to CDBG applications to the beautifications effort at the library and other places throughout the village. So though we had nothing to report on, there's a lot going on. Piece of good news out of Washington, obviously, it looks like the stimulus package is going to provide some direct aid to the village. Trying to get a lot more information. NICOM sent some things out today. So it does look like there is some money coming in, which will definitely assist us moving forward, because obviously it's been a rough year. And then the last thing I have to say is that it has been a rough year. 1 year ago in March, things changed. I couldn't have got through the last year if it wasn't for the mayor. And I say that truly because it takes a lot of toll. There's a lot of stress that goes in here. And, you know, when Village Hall was closed and dark and no one was in here, we spent a lot of time on county conference calls, but also a lot of times just talking. A lot of times hearing about the Jersey Shore and summer shandies and, you know, all the war stories and Jimmy Levine and things like that. And I needed that. I think we both needed that to get our minds off what was going on. A lot of work was going on, but that's what I kind of appreciated most the last year. So, Mr. Mayor, I am definitely going to miss you, but yes, good, you know, congratulations on a second retirement, and hope to see you around. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Miscellaneous business. The village election will be next Tuesday, March 16th, at the Tuckahoe Community Center. The hours, the polling station will be open, be 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. The next village board meeting, the reorganization meeting, will be held on April 5th at 7 p.m. And then the regular village board meeting will then be held on April 12th at 7 p.m. as well. So I just encourage everyone, if you can't, I think the deadline for absentee ballots is tomorrow to have them in the mail, but I'm sure, or you can have them up to the Board of Elections by the 15th. So please, everyone, take advantage. It's your right, it's your privilege. Vote. And with that, it will bring us to our Board of Trustees member reports. And I'd like to begin with Trustee Omaira Andino.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to just start by echoing what some have already said and offering my condolences to Faye Blasi's family in the passing of Faye. I remember the first time I met her when you took me, actually, Greg, to meet the seniors. And Faye, with her feisty self, says to me, you know, welcome. And I was a little timid at the time when I met everyone. And she says, what are you being shy about? Sit down, sit down. She tells me to sit down, and then she starts giving me advice about what to do. And then at the end, she goes, now go out there and kick ass. So thank you, Faye, for that. 100 years old, she celebrated in November. So that's a great feat. I want to update the residents on a few things. NICOM, the New York Conference of Mayors, provides a lot of trainings throughout the year. And when I first started, David turned me on to them because you come on board and you're learning how to govern, and it's not something that you just know how to do. And the last month they had their conference for the year, their annual conference, and there were a lot of great sessions that they held. And one of them talked about rethinking and restarting the local economy after COVID. So that was a good session to attend. There were a lot of municipalities there giving ideas about how they're recuperating and what are some of the programs and some of the projects that they're working on in order to do that to help businesses. So that was a good conference to attend. They also had a session on how COVID impacts labor issues, which is also something for us to keep in mind. So that's important. David already mentioned the Senate passing the American Rescue Plan. It's important to note that, and correct me if I'm wrong, David, the way I read it was that the municipalities that are in the community block grant program will receive the funding first. Am I correct?
It did say that. However, when I looked into it, or when I look into it a little bit, I believe that there was only certain members. So we're part of a consortium, and I think it's just the actual members. So it's like the Yonkers, yeah, not us.
The bigger ones, okay.
But it looks to be that it's only about a 30-day delay, or because it would then go to the state and then to us. So
yeah, okay, that's good. And also, did I read it right when they talked about the percentage, having to do with your census? And the higher the census, the more money you get. So it's important for the residents to understand that that's why that census is so important, because we were at what, 75% or something like around there. And so if we were higher, we would have received more aid. So the census is important for those 10 years from now. I also want to thank the Beautification Committee for just all the work that they're doing in the village. I mean, I'm constantly hearing about the Beautification Committee putting in a proposal to beautify the village, and I appreciate that. It's a quality of life issue. Thank you to that committee. We also celebrated Black History Month. We had a program on February 18th. And it was a really lovely program. We were able to get a lot of children to ask to be on the program, and that was really nice. I just want to thank everyone who participated in the program. Deacon James Murray, Morgan Slocum, Elijah Jacobs, Tina Burwell, Sophia McGann, Andrew Rudowitz, Michaela Smith, and I also want to thank Ilyasa Shabazz, who came and spoke to the children, and some of the children actually contacted me and had thank you cards for me to give to her. For those of you who are not familiar, Ilyasa Shabazz is the daughter of Malcolm X. And I also want to thank Lovely Billups, who was it was her brainchild. Today was the last day for testing, COVID testing in the community center. We didn't have as great a demand in the last few weeks. I think people are looking for vaccines instead of testing. So unless we hear about a greater demand for the testing, we're going to stop that. I am happy to report that we received a call from Allure Pharmacy, who is going to do a vaccine pop-up in Tuckahoe on March 15th for our seniors. So I will put my email address in the chat bar. You can email me to get on the list. We have 50 vaccines to give seniors. 40 will be administered at the community center, and 10 will be administered at home for people who can't get out of the house. So I'm grateful to them for that. And last but not least, I want to thank Mayor Greg Luisi. I have a great affection for him. Many of you that know me know that. I appreciate that I can, we can have spirited discussions, and then the next week he'll bring me a carrot cake or I'll bake him one. So thank you, Greg, for putting up with me. I remember when I first started on as village trustee in 2018, Greg was the first person to welcome me with open arms, and I don't forget that. He invited me out to go and have what he believes is the best pizza. I won't say where, because I don't want favoritism to be felt. But he took me out, and at that table, he he told me he, schooled me on a lot of things, on what it means to be a trustee, given that he was a trustee for so long. And he said something to me which remains to be seen. You said, you're going to be the first woman mayor in Tuckahoe. And here I am running. So thank you.
Well, if I'm half right, that's pretty good though, right?
Right. Well, at least there's going to be a woman. So you got part of it right.
And gee, how many years ago that was?
3 years. So thank you, Greg.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Wishes on your retirement.
Thank you, Elmira. Deputy Mayor Lang.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. So first, I would also like to acknowledge the passing of our beloved Faye Blasi. I really enjoyed the few minutes that I got to spend with her. And our trustee Gina Lee will be able to tell you a little bit more about her contribution. So again, our condolences to the family of Faye Blasi. Thank you. Next, I just want to assure the residents of the Winslow Circle area that we were not in favor of stadium lighting when Concordia was here. And just because ownership has changed, our position has not. And we will fight for our residents if and when this issue does come before us. Because that was something that was a big deal. And we're gonna make sure that the residents aren't faced with the same, the same fight. We're definitely on their side. I speak for myself, and that's pretty much it. When I say we, I apologize. Also, I did want to reiterate what the chief mentioned with the police department, the county civil service exam. It's always nice when you drive around and see police officers that that we're familiar with, that come from the area. It's just reassuring. So as a reminder, the last filing date's the 29th. As the chief said, the dates are going to be May 15th and 16th. And we encourage all of our young people to, just, hey, listen, take the test. If it's not something you want to do, and when they call you, you could always, say no thanks. So it's just it's a great profession, especially here in our village. Also, I want to wish everyone good luck in this upcoming election on March 16th. And lastly, I would like to start by thanking the Luisi family. I'll leave you out for a second, Gregory. I'd like to thank the Luisi family for their sacrifice over the past 10 plus years. So thank you to them. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your service to our village, for your leadership and direction. And it has been a true honor to serve as your deputy mayor.
Thank you.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
Yes, sir.
Trustee Howe.
Thank you. I would also like to send my condolences to Faye Blasi's family. The times that I was able to visit the senior, she was always a powerhouse. And, really, she, I think, was literally on every committee in the village with maybe the exception of zoning and planning. I wanted to remind everybody that in 2016, she was given the Tuckahoe Women of Distinction Award by Assemblywoman Pollen. And so that's how I will always think of her. Wanted to give a quick update because we've gotten a lot of questions on a couple of properties in the village which are in the middle of construction. Those are the large construction project at Lime Kiln, also at the corner of Maynard and Rogers, as well as the building on Main Street and Yonkers Avenue. So, a lot of those buildings have sat with nothing moving on them through COVID for a lot of different reasons. But at the end of this meeting, I'm going to be recommending to the building department that we have look at timetables on demolition and build plans and report on them on a monthly basis. So planning and zoning board meeting will be March 16th at 7:30 and the zoning meeting March 10th at 7. There are really not too much change on there. The one thing for the planning board, we're hoping we keep putting it on the agenda, and I assume we will until someone shows up to tell us about the amended site plan for the restaurant Shell on Marbledale. A couple of programs going on in the village. The Bronxville, Eastchester, Tuckahoe Stronger Together Coalition will be having a Zoom program on underage drinking on March 11th at 7 p.m. If you'd like to register for that, you can register at thenotoprevent.org. John Galuzzi also asked me to remind folks that on April 16th, Lifeline Screening of America will be at the Tuckahoe Community Center, and they'll be making screening for stroke and cardiovascular disease available for a very reasonable price. So if you'd like more information, please give John a call at the community center. As far as a couple of local advocacy efforts, I wanted you guys to be aware of. One is we had a great meeting last week with Eastchester School District, and our state representatives and Tuckahoe schools were also represented there. The state of education funding is in a pretty dire way. So we're going to be looking to hold a press conference on the grounds of Eastchester schools later this month. Tuckahoe schools have been invited. We've also invited New Rochelle because their school board had interest in advocating as well. In a nutshell, for over a decade, both Eastchester and Tuckahoe schools have received less than 50% of what we're due by foundation aid. And so we want to make a pretty strong statement on that to the governor and to our legislature. So anyone who's interested, please get in touch with me. We'd love to have as many people participate as possible. And on Trustee Andino mentioned the NICOM Legislative Conference, which I attended as well. And she talked about the American Rescue Plan, which is the government's answer to COVID. About $1.9 trillion is being voted on, and 20 billion of that will come to the state of New York. There was a lot of people who fought very hard to make sure that written into that federal bill, that funds would go directly to municipalities, because that didn't necessarily happen on the earlier CARES Act. But now the battle will be for municipalities to make sure that the state, and in particular, the governor's budget, that he does not redirect funds out of our regular budget. So it's really important that everyone write to their state representatives, so Shelley Mayer, Amy Paulin, and directly to the governor to advocate to not redirect funds based on the fact that we're getting COVID. We need the COVID funds because we've incurred higher expenses that were unplanned. So thanks to everyone for writing a letter. There was a rumor going around with an incident that happened, again, involved with the schools. There's a man, Donald McBennett, who was charged last week in Dobbs Ferry with burglary. He also happened to enter schools in the Eastchester Public School District and also at Immaculate Conception, or Immaculate Heart of Mary, sorry. And there was rumors going around that he was going to be released without bail this week, and those rumors are totally false. I just wanted to make sure people understood that. I spoke with the Westchester District Attorney, Mimi Roca, earlier today, and she said to me that on March 5th, the defendant made a bail application, and the judge at that time, Judge Bufido, set bail as follows: $5,000 in cash, $10,000 insurance company bail bond, and $25,000 partially secured bond with a 10% requirement. So this person is not going to be getting out of jail anytime soon. To verify this, you can all go to Mimi Roca's Westchester DA Facebook site, and they have posted this case on that. I also wanted to thank Mayor Luisi, for all of his support during my time as a trustee, with activities for the library and for Tuckahoe Challenge. He's always been, a great supporter of those. And also wanted to thank him for giving me, the responsibility of being a liaison to the Planning and Zoning Board. It's been a very great experience. And in particular, thank him for allowing myself and Trustee Andino to advocate on behalf of getting the hotel their certificate of occupancy. Also, great discussions and being able to voice differing opinions and find a consensus. And so, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to let you know you're officially on the Tuckahoe Road Race Committee. And our training will begin on April 6th.
Oof, April 6th. Okay.
April 6th.
I'm already there. I'm already a 6 mile a day guy, or I used to be anyway.
Well, we're going to get back there. Yeah. So, and the last thing I have tonight is really gives me a lot of joy. Last month, there was an award that was actually announced at the Eastchester board meeting. I believe it was Sheila Marcotte who brought it to my attention that the County Board of Health was giving out Distinguished Public Health Service Awards. I submitted an application on behalf of Omira Andino for her work during COVID. And so they sent along a certificate of appreciation, which I would like to present to her right now. You can all see this. Maybe you can't see the signatures, but it's signed by Shirlita Amler, MD, who's the Westchester County Commissioner of Health, and Robert Baker, who's the Westchester County Board of Health President. And they sent a letter along with it, and I'd like to read a little bit of that to you. On behalf of the Westchester County Board of Health, I would like to commend Omira for stepping up to help other residents during this pandemic by arranging for meals to be prepared and delivered for 400 plus seniors, bundles of joy to 200 plus families, and a pop-up testing site for more than 600 residents. As a token of our esteem for her volunteer work, kindly present her with the attached certificate of appreciation from the Westchester County Board of Health, along with our congratulations for a job well done. So congratulations, Omira. I just wanted to point out to people too, I think, in my day job, which is what I call it, I've sat on a lot of national committees where laboratory manufacturers, laboratory test manufacturers such as myself, and laboratories around the country, have had many discussions about distribution chains. It was a very huge weakness for our country with testing and now with vaccines. A lot of the guidance that came down from the federal government really that was filtered to states looked at only the highest density populations as their place to go for both testing and vaccines. And what Omira was able to do was to use her connections in getting us access to the village on a lot of PPE, on testing, and now on vaccines. And I was able last week to volunteer at that event and actually went with the pharmacist who was just giving the vaccines to 10 homes of seniors who could not get out. They're not mobile. And the thanks, the appreciation from those people, one of them was Alice White. I was able to be with her when she got vaccinated. They were so grateful. And it was something that, a lot of people didn't think about. They didn't think about how to get these things to the most vulnerable people in our population who needed them the most. So I just wanted to really thank Omira for that. And I'll be bringing by your certificate this week.
Thank you, Renee. There are a lot of people who have contributed and who have done a lot in the village, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Trustee Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. First, thank you, Mayor Luisi. Working with you the past 2 years has been wonderful. Dealing with COVID, guiding our village through it has naturally been an obstacle, but we have done great together. I was very upset, and I still am upset that you decided not to run again, but I do understand and I want you to enjoy your second retirement and enjoy your beautiful family.
Thank you.
You're not getting rid of me.
No.
I'm gonna still haunt you.
Okay.
So we have a few things, few events happening around town I would like to mention. Since we are all Irish around this time, March 14th at 10 a.m. Immaculate Conception Church. We'll have an Irish Heritage Mass. Unfortunately, we will not have our annual parade, but hopefully we'll be out there next year. The Eastchester Tuckahoe Chamber of Commerce will hold their next meeting March 25th at 8 p.m. Kudos to the Chamber of Commerce for their website, etcoc.com. You can find information about local businesses as well as coupons and discounts. So everybody should check that out. Okay. The town of Eastchester, in lieu of the traditional egg hunt this year, they are going to have an Easter Bunny meet and greet. This event will take place on Saturday, March 27th, and residents will have the opportunity to reserve a free ticket for their family during designated times. In 2022, we're hoping to welcome back our Easter egg hunt, which will be named after the Glenn Belito, whose favorite part of being a town board member was counting down the seconds for the egg hunt to begin. Tickets will be able to be reserved starting Thursday, March 11th at 3 p.m. through Eventbrite. There's a link on the flyer. You can find that flyer on the website or on social media. The website is eastchester.org. And it's in the Parks and Rec section under Easter Bunny Meet and Greet. Okay. I also want to talk about the community center. Tuckahoe Village Elections is next Tuesday, March 16th. Voting is from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the community center. Birthday parties are booking. You can call John to reserve a date for a party, social gatherings, or meetings. Open gym is back Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. For the time being, open gym space is limited. Please book your open gym time with John Galuzzi /recreation attendant at 914-231-0229. And like Renee had mentioned, on April 16th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Lifeline screening will be back. Okay. As the liaison of the senior citizens, I had the pleasure of spending lots of time with Faye Blasi. A wonderful woman is an understatement. I have so many memories that I will hold dear to my heart. I do have something from Jennifer Vetramile that she asked me to read, so I will do that now. Sadly, Faye Blasi, longest serving member of Tuckahoe Senior Citizens, 40 years, passed away at 100 years old on February 28th. She was the heart and soul of the Tuckahoe Senior Citizens, serving in almost every executive board position over the years. Most recently, she was our trips chair, collecting payments for our luncheons and day trips and making seating arrangements. She was truly my right-hand person and a dear friend to so many. With the help of the Tuckahoe Police Department, Gina Lee, we gave her a Zoom 100th birthday party on Zoom, and we also gave her a car parade this past November, which we were told at her funeral mass was the highlight of her last years. She was so proud of that, I have to say. She waved on her porch like Miss America. It was amazing. Thank you, Chief Costanzo and the police department, which last week delivered almost 100 meals prepared by local restaurants to the Tuckahoe Senior Center members living in town of Eastchester and the village of Tuckahoe. Thank you to Loretta DeSimone, Executive Director of the Eastchester Tuckahoe Chamber of Commerce, which donated funds for the meals. Meals were prepared by dozens of restaurants, all members of the Eastchester Tuckahoe Chamber of Commerce. Our members were truly grateful for this. Thanks to the village of Tuckahoe, including Mayor Luisi, Trustee Lee, Trustee Andino, Trustee Howell, as well as David Burke and Jackie Ferretti for their efforts over the last months to secure appointments and doses of COVID vaccines for Tuckahoe seniors. At this moment, almost all of our seniors who are members have received vaccinations. Again, we are truly grateful for their efforts. Our goal now is to target physical reopening of the Tuckahoe Senior Citizens in September with annual bazaar to take place in spring 2022. This will depend on many factors, including CDC guidelines and policy of the Immaculate Conception Parish, which lends us the space. At the conclusion of our meeting, Mayor and board members, I would like to take a moment of silence for Faye, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I guess it's my turn. Okay. You know, when we talk about Faye Blasey, you want to know something funny? In talking with Faye, I don't know how it came out. My first apartment as a single man was her father's house in Yonkers. And I really impressed when I brought the lease in and showed her the lease from 1974. And her brother was living upstairs at the time. But that was the house that she grew up in with her dad and mom and brothers and sisters. What a small world. Everything that's been said about Faye before is I can only magnify it 100 times because she was that type of person. She was a dear friend to me, offered countless tidbits of advice, how to get through life. It's not that bad. And, you know, when she told you her life story, you realize, wow, I guess I should stop complaining, you know? So I will dearly miss Faye. And again, I offer my condolences to her family as well. So I just have a little brief statement that I would just like to read. When I look back over the last 10 years, the first thought that comes to my mind is, where did this time go? So much has happened in our lives, our world, our country, and yes, even right here in Tuckahoe, you know, things have happened that some of us, we never ever realized or thought would ever happen. It's so hard to believe that our last public meeting was a year ago. But I am honored and I am privileged to have had a role in so many of the benefits and positives provided to our residents here in Tuckahoe. But I would be a fool.
It's just a Zoom meeting.
I would be a fool to think that this would have happened. It could not have happened without the collaborative efforts of our talented and professional department heads and their staff. Chief John Costanzo, Frank DeMarco, Bill Williams, Mike Simonara, our library director, Swadish. I'm not going to attempt to say your last name, Swadish. Judge David Fuller and Maureen in our court department. Our village attorney, Gary Gertzton, who, by the way, is a great Tom Petty fan, so he's endeared to me forever. Our clerk's office staff, you know, Jackie Ferretti, Camille DeSalvo, our treasury department, Ryan Rueda, and, you know, our utility player, our newest employee in Village Hall, who's such a delight, Connie Kitaki, I hope I got that name right. But I promised her I would never get that name right. So, and I'd like to, you know, again, publicly comment again about all our village employees who still came to work every day and still provided this service, this village with all the essential services throughout this pandemic. So I thank them as well. And a key component of all of this is, I think I can now call him my dear friend, is David Burke. You know, we always kid about when we had that interview process 7 years ago. I remember the late trustee Steve Quigley going, you know, this is a blank canvas, it's yours. And you have done amazing work in the 7 years that you've been here.
Yeah.
And I don't stand here without you doing all that you have done. So thank you. I'm sorry if I've bored you with too many war stories. maybe as time goes on, I may rehash some of them. Maybe I'll tell you some new ones, but in all seriousness, you are a true asset to this village, David Burke. Thank you. And everyone that I'm talking about in this village that works for the village, every time I spoke to you or called you or sent you an email, you always were accessible and you always were very helpful to me. So again, I thank you for that. But I've also had the privilege of working with some very, very dedicated trustees over the years who have always provided me with open discussion and different views of the issues that affect our village every day. The responsibilities of the new board will be immense, obviously, because of what's happened this past year with COVID. But because of responsible and prudent management, they will be well situated and well equipped to guide the village in the coming years and get the village out of this pandemic. And the Tuckahoe seniors will be the ones that always will be dear to my heart. That was my first assignment as a trustee, was to be their liaison. And I can't thank the Tuckahoe History Committee for allowing me to be involved in their projects as well. It brought to me an appreciation of the place where I now, where I live. And you can't thank them enough. And to think that even during this pandemic, Nick Sanzana was still compiling videos and photos, and compiling all of that. And someday he will share it with the village. And I also would be terribly remiss if I did not mention our veterans who so selfishly served our country and to this day continue to be important presence in our village. And even throughout the, the pandemic, how they still conducted the Memorial Day ceremonies, and things of that nature. So thank you to our veterans. So this is my last meeting as village mayor. And I would like to thank you, Tuckahoe, for allowing me to serve this village for the last 10 years. It has truly been a humbling experience and certainly a milestone in my life. And getting back to what Deputy Mayor Lang said earlier, I have to thank my family, which is probably one of the first bits of advice I give to a new board member is when they're talking, always give credit to your family, don't forget. So I was able to provide some entertainment to my children along these last few years when they would all gather around TV at certain village board meetings to watch the expression on my face, depending on what the topic was. So sorry I won't be able to provide that entertainment for them anymore. But in all seriousness, Tuckahoe, thank you so much for allowing me to serve for the last 10 years. And with that, it is now the second opportunity to address the board on any item that they would like to speak to us about.
Mayor Luisi, can I just say one more thing? I forgot to thank Danny Lang today. He was like a superhero. He got one of our residents down to the Javits Center last minute and for her vaccine, and she was so happy. And you did a great job, Danny, getting her there and back in time for this meeting.
Yeah, it's so encouraging to see that, well, now that Johnson & Johnson's rolled out the vaccine and the Javits Center is running 24/7, boy, the light at that time, the end of the tunnel is getting brighter and brighter in my estimation. It's just the rest of the country that concerns me, but I won't go down that road right now. And one more thing, if I may, I would just like to thank everyone that's sending me text messages on my my phone here. I'm sorry, I don't have that that, like I said before, panoramic view of the iPad. So everyone that's offered me congratulations and best wishes, I thank each and every one of you.
So if we want to speak, do we raise a hand or just speak?
I'm sorry?
I said, if we want to speak now, we're allowed, or do I have to raise my
You
hand?
got the floor. Please identify yourself, your name and your address, please.
Tom Ringwald, 6 Hollywood Avenue East, Tuckahoe.
Hi, Tom.
Hello, Greg. So I don't know if you remember, just over 2 years ago, you gave me a phone call. Do you remember that phone call? Right when you were about the end, I thought the end of your, you've done enough, 8 years of service, and I thought you were going to bow out. And you called up and said, "What do you think about me running for mayor?" Do you remember what I said to you?
There's no wrong decision.
That was the nice part of the answer. And the second part was, I think you've lost your mind. But I have to be honest. For those of you who don't know, Greg and I have known each other since we were 9 years old. So going back to like the chief's comments and a bunch of the other comments about what a wonderful gentleman he is now. But I can tell you all stories. Also, I'm a little bit nervous that you shared stories about the Jersey Shore with Mr. Burke, because I have no idea what you told him that I was up to for the 4 years we spent down there. But all that being aside, I have to say, Greg, you went into this 100%. I was truly amazed that you were that kind, because you had already done 8 years of service, and then you did this, and you even blew off social engagements with your wife and my wife because you had village things to attend to, and I admire you for that. You really did a fantastic job of always being there for everybody, and I commend you for that.
Thank you.
I'm very happy for you, and now that you're retiring again, you can finally get out on the golf course with me, whether you want to or not.
Tom, my office still stands. I told you I'll drive that cart any day of the week. I'm just not going to swing a golf club.
All right. Thanks again, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Tom.
All right,
and
Greg.
thank you
Thanks.
for your service on that zoning board. You've done a fantastic job, you and your commissioners.
Okay. Thank you very much. Best of luck. See you
Thank
soon.
you. Thank you. Yes, sure.
We don't hear you well, Jackie.
Could I say something about the mayor, please? Mike Giordano?
Sure.
So Greg, we met under challenging circumstances, to say the least, mostly because you're a Yankee fan, but that's a whole nother discussion. But I want to say that I appreciate our relationship has evolved. I enjoy speaking with you. I think you've done an excellent job, not only as a trustee, but I think as a mayor, especially in the last year with all the challenging times we've had with COVID, and the entire board working together in a bipartisan way to do the right thing for the village and do the right thing for the businesses. And that's really very important to me, and I think to everyone else. So I want to thank you for that. And I know we'll be seeing you around town, because I know I catch you at Angelina's. I do want to know what your favorite pizza place is, but we'll figure that out another time, because I want to see if it's mine. That'd be pretty. So, anyways, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I've enjoyed working with you, and look forward to seeing you.
Thank you. And I'll get you tickets for a Yankee game.
I know, right?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, Jim Murray.
Hey, Mr. Murray, how are you?
I'm doing good, Greg. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Just briefly, I was last month this time, I was looking for a place to get the COVID vaccine, and everything I got was either out of the area or I would have to wait a long time. But I got a call from Trustee Omira Andino about 3 weeks ago, and she made my life so much easier along with other seniors. She located the place. Not only that, she picked us up, took us to the location, and brought us back home within an hour. So that made everything a lot easier, and she's been doing that. I just want to say thank you I'll be going for my second vaccination in another week or so. So it was a blessing and took a lot of pressure off of me. And again, to you, Mayor, someone in your position, a lot of times, if I leave a message or if someone leaves a message, you might not get back right away, or you might have someone else call. But what you do is right away. You return my call, and I appreciate that. You know, I've been making calls to other leaders in the county, but you're one of the first, maybe a second, that made sure you got back to me to answer any question that I had. So I just wish you all the success. You're still young enough to enjoy yourself. So just get out and have a good time, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Murray. I greatly appreciate that. And if I may just, I just want to add on what you just said, Mr. Murray. And Trustee Howell even made reference to this earlier. I was at the community center last week when the vaccines were being administered, and I thank Trustee Andino for that. And what really drove the point home to me that day was a 100-year-old woman insisted that her daughter drive it to the community center to get that shot that day.
Oh, wow.
And to me, that just spoke volumes. To see the look on the faces of those people as they came in and got that first shot, truly, it was so heartwarming. And to see that relief, know, you know, they're halfway there, that, you know, that COVID's not gonna, I mean, let's be honest, it's a killer, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
So I truly understand what you were saying, Mr. Murray.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, go ahead, Mom.
Okay. Anyone
Hi,
else?
Greg.
Hi.
Hi, this is Marvine, Donna's mom.
Oh, yes, I know that voice anywhere.
Yes, I want to congratulate you on your retirement.
Thank you. I think
But
I'm not going to be retired. Does my office still stands with you? I still will, you know.
Oh, you remember.
Of course.
I was just about to remind you, but since you remember, I won't have to let the whole world know what we talk about.
You won't have to carry any luggage anymore when you go down.
No, because we will be flying in first class. First class.
You bet.
Okay. So I wish you well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Thank you. And all my best to Donna.
I'm sitting right here.
Oh. Hi, Donna.
Hello, the jail is still hiring, so you can come on back.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay, if there is no one else, I would just like to ask if we could just take a moment of silence for our dear Faye Blasey, and to think that 500,000 plus Americans have lost their lives in the past year. So please indulge me and let's have a moment of silence for those who lost their lives to COVID and to our dear Faye Blasey. Okay, with that, I make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting, Tuckahoe. Do I have a second?
Second.
Until next time, good night, Tuckahoe.
Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome. Good night, everyone.